Well, hey, everybody. Give everybody the awkward minute while we watch all the attendees join in. Hope everyone's having a good Wednesday. Good Wednesday, everybody. All right. Should be pretty exciting today. We got CrushBank really running the brunt of it. We're going to talk some automation stuff. It's going to be really, really cool. Talking about how to power the service desk using that. We're going to show some pretty great tangible examples. We're going to show what it looks like inside of CloudRadial, what CloudRadial does, the whole shebang. With us today are kind of the big wigs in their relative departments. We've got my CEO, Jeff Ferris, President CEO of CloudRadial. Say hi, Jeff.
Hi, Ricky.
Good enough. Look at that. Then you got me, VP of Product here at CloudRadial. I am the person responsible for setting up the integration with CrushBank. Hopefully did a pretty good job. I'm excited to see what it can do to help you guys out. We also have Brian Mullaney, the Chief Revenue Officer from CrushBank. Hey, Brian.
Hey, Ricky.
And then I'm afraid to pronounce Ben's last name, so I'm going to say Ben S. How do you pronounce your last name, man?
Subercaso.
That's not that bad. I get a lot of Ciccinis with mine. Subercaso. I can remember that. And you were also the product manager, and I worked with you. So if it's bad, it's our fault, right? Maybe. Yeah, I think, again, people are loading in, but I think that's a pretty good little amount of time to get the ball rolling. Why don't we start, if you could, get to the next slide, and we'll let Jeff take it away on who we are and kind of what we do.
Hey, so fun. So again, next slide. So CloudRadial is basically a client services automation platform. Our job is to bring together things like CrushBank and a variety of other stack items together for the benefit of your partners as an MSP or even as an IT professional, to bring those together for the benefit of your clients, the benefit of your staff, to bring all of your client touch points into a single pane of glass. We do this based around 4 modules. One being the service desk, which brings in the ticket portal, service catalog, and a variety of things that make it easier to bring in and expose tickets. Obviously, the account management piece, where we bring in the reporting, what we call the co-management piece, where we bring in the training, the LMS, and then lastly, the asset management piece, where we bring in all of your endpoint servers all together in a single view. And then on the next slide, again, what your clients are going to see, again, is that single pane of glass related to everything you do. And the powerful thing with CloudRadial is we're going to show with CrushBank, as we've been showing in a lot of webinars as of late, is basically the power of bringing it all together and using the best of breed solutions to streamline things, not only for your clients, but for your team as well. And then with that, again, your clients are better off. They're easier. It's easier for them to see what you do, where you're taking them. And it also makes it easier for you to pull all of your tools together, basically for the benefit of your team. So with that, I'm going to turn it over, I think, to Brian to talk about CrushBank.
Excellent. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Ricky. We are not only a partner, if I can date myself with the Hair Club for Men from 100 years ago, we are not only a partner of CloudRadial, we are also a client. So when I actually put a new employee or whatever the request might be with our MSP, it goes, we do everything through CloudRadial. So it's sort of a cool 360 story about using it and also being part of making it more comprehensive on the back end. So without further ado, I'll try to keep with Jeff's pace here. I really like the CSA kind of capture for the solution that CloudRadial provides to the marketplace. What you'll see in a slide or two here from us is AI knowledge management is how we have framed CrushBank, and it's really about creating usable and intelligent and leverageable data from multiple systems that currently reside in your stack, so to speak. The thesis here, and I'll go into this pretty quickly, but is in general, these are problems you have solved before. and CrushBank is all about helping you leverage what has previously been resolved, and then supporting other sort of, I'll call them downstream, but downstream functions like the CSA environment for CloudRadial. If we can push more intelligent data down to the customer via a framework like CloudRadial, we create a better world in the relative scheme of things for MSPs and for users. And it's all about taking the data there that's turning it into information. So as I noted, I'll move through what we see in sort of 3 or 4 slides here as the problem, and then the resolution, the impact, and then we'll hand it off to the real meat, which is Ricky and Ben walking through the demo for both CrushBank and CloudRadial. But a few stats here that for us summarize the problem that we are addressing with AI knowledge management. You can read, but I'll kind of buzz through these. IBM has come up a number of studies, a handful of them, north of 90% of data is unsearchable, meaning unstructured, really. It's not in a database table. It's in a PDF. It's in an SOP. It's in a chat. It's in a time entry, right? You've solved it before and it hasn't been properly or perfectly captured in a searchable or sortable form. So that's a big amount of times that you're sort of recreating or spend a lot of time searching. Categorization, tickets being miscategorized. If the term, why is it escaping me at the moment? Must change. Thank you. It means anything to all of you. The amount of times that tickets stay as must change in an ITSM or in a PSA is just way too high, and you have this opportunity to really categorize and classify things, but it's left to people who are otherwise busy solving problems, right? So a lot of miscategorized data. This is a really recent number. It's astounding to me. I knew it was high, but CompTIA just came out last month with 46% as the average turnover for support specialists in the industry. Even if you're doing way better than that and you're at a third of that, and remember, churn can be good. If you promote somebody out, that's still a loss of tribal and sort of institutional knowledge from that role. So this number is not all bad, but it's just dynamic. And if you're losing anywhere from 20 to 46% of your sort of intimacy every year, that's a lot of work to recreate. 20% of data is missing. We hear more than that in some cases. 50% of time is spent looking for data. This is every CEO I've talked to. And it taking as much or more than 4 months to get an employee up to speed. So that ties into that 46%. If I'm bringing somebody on, they're turning over every 2 to 3 years, and 4 months of the time is getting them up to speed. There's a lot of inefficiency there. So the broad statement here is that there's a lot of inefficiency. And if we do some smart things with data, we can move the needle on each of these a little bit to make the experience better.
Hey, Brian, I have a question for you before we move on to that too.
Yeah.
I wanted to discuss, because I think a lot of people probably relate to this stuff. Do you think that you yourself have seen this in your own business? I mean, as far as the MSP running, I mean, is this something you felt before?
Unequivocally. So the unsearchable piece is so true. Every time entry, and I could talk about this for too long. I'll try not to, Ricky, but
Sure.
every time entry. All right, here, put it this way. The most gratifying thing we've heard over the last couple of years is when an engineer says, okay, now I get it. Better time entries now matter because my coworkers can search for them. My organization can search for them. Somebody doesn't have to bother me at 7 o'clock on a Thursday night to figure out what I did before. And I, vice versa, don't as well, right? So a couple extra seconds to make that useful. Because right now, if you're not doing something like this that searches those unstructured fields in more than just a keyword scenario, I'm talking about like conceptual model, AI model search to be able to find some of that information. The reality is that's not valuable, and it's really hard to demand that you would, which we've done for decades, to demand that your employees put very detailed notes in there when they know very well that the only person that will ever leverage them are themselves. When they're like, oh, I think I solved this 2 months ago. Let me go back and look at ABC Corp or
Right.
their boss in a billing dispute, right? There's no other good way for someone to leverage that. So all of these are real. The turnover one was one that got me when I was running an MSP a long time ago. One of the guys that worked for us, he's like, we're turning over at like 38%. I'm like, that's not true. It totally was. It's just we had our holdovers who were great and thorough and always there, but we had other people who were turning over routinely at more than 100%, right? So it's like, oh my goodness, we have turned over the whole company in 3 years.
Right.
It's just things like that. You're so nutted down in the business that thinking about 50% of time spent looking for data and how nice it would be able to get people up to speed faster. Those are, I don't want to say they're easy, but they're big things. Like you move that from 50 to 35, like that's a couple people, right? So too long of an answer, Ricky, but yes.
Well, again, it's like, I think the interesting perspective that I don't usually get to do on these webinars is that you also have the perspective, both of you guys, of being able to say like, hey, this is real data that actually applies. And again, we'll see it in a second, but you have the benefit of seeing exactly where, you know, CrushBank took you or could have taken you, right, at the same time had you run it. So anyways, I might pop in some more MSP focused questions, but keep going.
No, right on. And we actually do that. Well, some of these things we'll go in and do like, here's one where someone spent 8 hours and the first answer that came up, we sort of do some backwards lookups to see how, like, if we had done this, how much time would have been saved, and it's material, right?
Right.
Anyhow, this sort of just encapsulates everything we said there. But if you're churning at whatever 40%, it's every 2.5 years. And even if you're churning at half that, you're still building a new company every 2.5 to 5 years, 2 to 5 years. And the point is, at the end of that, you have your clients and your data, right? So obviously you're doing everything you can to keep your clients. That is revenue. That's the lifeblood. Your data is the only other thing you have. And whatever you can do to have it not entirely walk out the door at 6 p.m. every evening, or the remote, the virtual door, if everyone's working from home, how can you make that more of an intrinsic asset for the business that's not necessarily tied to the people, or not so explicitly tied to the people that impacted the effort in the first place? You got to make that actual intellectual property for the organization. All right, so very quickly, there's a lot. This is a different webinar, by the way, but we could spend a long time talking about generative AI versus semantic AI search, and what does this all mean, and what is open AI? We're not really doing that, but just back to that unstructured highlight. We've said around 90% of data is unstructured, and this is just a simple graphic that sort of helps capture what this means. Like, you've got your structured, you've got your unstructured. What CrushBank does with semantic AI search is we tag data when it comes in. Every ticket, every document, every PDF, every KBA that gets pulled in on behalf across multiple systems. Ben will show what this means in real world, in real life, from multiple systems, you name it: IT Glue, Confluence, SharePoint, Teams, all the PSAs, or almost all the PSAs, gets pulled into a data lake. And that's sort of what you're looking at on that upper right-hand side. When we bring it in, we're finding the concepts that are loudest or most prevalent in each one of those documents. The document could be a time entry from 2 years ago. It could be an SOP on how to resolve something at every customer that you put in your own collection, in the MSP collection, that is, for within ConnectWise or within whatever your PSA is. That gets pulled into the knowledge graph, and that's how we do two things here. And this will set up nicely, I hope, for the way that we interact with CloudRadial. We take that unstructured data, we make it searchable, right? So that's sort of what you're finding. And semantic AI search, in its like simplest term, is taking documents that already exist and using AI models. And that's what we've done to train CrushBank on different terms that are like unique and relevant to IT support versus, I don't know, baseball, like something totally different that has nothing to do with it. You know, a portal means something here that doesn't mean in the Navy. All those sort of things. So we've trained it on what this language means. And from your natural query search, or from an automated one we run within the PSA, we pull back the most relevant documents, structured or unstructured. So you'll find configs, you'll find things from LionGuard, you'll find things from IT Glue, and you'll find an SOP from SharePoint, right? All of it right in there. The relevance to CloudRadial, not only is this sort of functional because it provides sort of a better 360 experience, but that the way we tag on the way in is how we present what we call analytics, or we call it insight, CrushBank Insight. But the analytics that that Ricky's going to show how we distribute, or we make available to your customers, it's that same level of base concept. What's creating the noise? Not what's the title of the ticket solely, where it says my Citrix doesn't work, right? But actually what's in the note and what's in the added time entries that come back, so we can figure out what's creating root cause in the system. That's what semantic AI search is. It's about finding what you already have, not generating a new document, but presenting best what we have, what's available. We have other ways to help you build new data, but this is what this functionality is in short. Literally, forgive the eye chart here, but we're just a couple comments on what CrushBank does sort of in totality. So depending upon how you're running, we're accomplishing a few different things here. When a ticket comes in, your two things are time spent and money spent to resolve the issue. The ticket comes in, we automatically classify it. We have an AI model that will put it in a type, subtype, and item for you. You can kick off all sorts of workflows from that automatic classification. If on the left-hand side, someone has to classify it, someone has to categorize it, has to go somewhere, right? Then some research has to be done. If it's escalated, this is obviously a worst case scenario. If it's escalated, more research has to be done as that first person goes back to figure out what's going on. We find a resolution, and then we auto-class. Then it should be reclassified again to confirm that that's actually what the issue was. The biggest pain point here are touches. If you can eliminate touches, you will create a better experience for your customers. Our CTO did an exercise a couple of years ago with about 13 large MSPs, and the number one indicator of churn was average touches per ticket. When that went above 1.3, the client was likely to churn. It sort of was a leading indicator on churn. When you kept that below 1.3, that's the biggest frustration for any of us. Like, I'd rather work with someone who's working through with me and communicating. It doesn't matter if it takes a day or 4 hours. It matters if I get dumped to Ricky and Ricky says, "Hey, what's your problem? Who are you calling from?" I'm like, "I just told that to Jeff." That's what infuriates people. I'm not telling you people anything you don't know, but data around that inflection point, escalations being the reduction in escalations being the biggest thing you can do to protect your revenue, we thought was an interesting result. It wasn't time to resolution, it was touches. With CrushBank, we auto categorize it. We actually auto budget it, which creates a whole bunch of opportunity for you to look at what tickets are off of budget in one way or the other. It's sort of a exception reporting, an immediate exception reporting tool. And then we help you resolve it a lot faster, because now it's not about search, it's about skill. And if your individual has the skill to solve the problem and the right information is put in front of them, they'll succeed. If they go beyond their skill set, it needs to be escalated. And that's the way your business should be built. Very quickly, and then I'll kind of wrap up on this side of it so that we can move in. But what knowledge management means to us is 5 things, 4 and one of sort of a subcategorization. M&A data optimization. If you're pulling multiple systems together, we allow you to do that in one data lake, and that's very powerful. Setting that aside, the other 4 are data classification, which is what I talked about with type, subtype, and item, the ability to automate that, the workflow. We call it workflow enablement, because now you can run all sorts of software off of type, subtype, and item, because it's 100% filled, populated, and it's 80x%, mid-80s% accurate. So you've got a really functional data set to work from there. Data quality, we have all sorts of ways for your users to now identify missing data. It says documentation requested. You click a quick button. It means that I was looking for something, I couldn't find it across multiple systems, and that kicks off a workflow that creates a ticket for someone working off hours to add a config for a Meraki in XYZ town where I couldn't find that previously. So you're empowering your users to be part of improving your data set on the fly. AI search, we've talked about that a little bit here. We'll show you a little bit more, but the idea of if it's there, we'll find it for you and do so a lot faster. You don't have to have that customer intimacy any longer. And analytics, I'll mention that last. That's what we're driving again into CloudRadial, giving you the ability, obviously, to see that yourself, and then if you choose to extend it down to customers that are going to collaborate with you and really be part of driving the cost and the inefficiency out of IT together, right? If we can give you root cause as a customer, your customer, and we've done this with our customers. We've done sort of one-on-one work with our customers. They're like, "This is amazing. This lets me see what my root problem is. How do I see this myself so I don't have to bother the MSP and I can come with questions?" Not unprepared, if that makes sense. But those are the 5 touch points: data optimization, data quality, data classification, AI search, and analytics. Very quickly, I won't bore people with this, but this is just sort of 3 silos of the architecture. Your enterprise network, even if you've got 10 people, your enterprise network is on the right-hand side here. That's your data applications. We pull those into a cloud network. It's currently in the EU, in North America, and in Australia. In data centers, they're all IBM data centers with front ends, obviously. A replicated, secure, we have all sorts of data on that as well. instance of your data. Frankly, it's a free BCDR solution. That's not how we position it, but it's just because it's offsite, all of that data is available. And that's where all of the AI modeling and logic takes place in the public network. That's just whether you're on an iPhone or you're sitting in a home office or actual office, that's your users accessing the app.crushbank.com or doing so right inside CloudRadio on the one hand, or inside ConnectWise, ServiceNow, Autotask, whatever. We're working right from the system of record. And then just final slide. So we're sort of a middleware is a total misrepresentation or misnomer. I won't use it, but we are between some of these ISVs that are value for customers like CloudRadial and root data sources, which is what companies like CloudRadial need to be effective, right? Our value, as hopefully I have articulated over the last 10 minutes a little bit, is to take all of this sort of unstructured and noisy core data and make it usable, make it smart, make it functional in one system that then organizations like CloudRadial begin to pull and present in different ways, shapes, and forms to different communities or different parts of the community. So just kind of simply breaking it out, we have ITSMs on the left, Managed, ServiceNow, BMS, Autotask, e-Automate for those who are in the dealer community and the copier dealer community. We were dragged into that as well. So anyone who has that side of a business, we do the exact same thing with e-Automate e-Automate that we do with Manage and Remedy additionally. And then on the right-hand side, these are sort of either unstructured or structured document management systems. I mean, these are, you know who these are, right? But we also do Teams and Secret Server is that kind of funny one. If that doesn't, if you're not sure of that one, SharePoint, we have all the ability to extend this information down to a customer. So you can say, this is a subset of data that I want available to a customer. And you can sort of share some of that information out. Like LionGuard, again, is another scenario where you can carve out the timeline so that when someone says, I didn't do anything, you're like, okay, but popping up here as the second document in CrushBank is an IP address that was changed on Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern time, and it's Wednesday at 3. And I'm pretty sure that that's got something to do with what happened. And now I'm not chasing ghosts. I've got like actual data presented to me. And the final comment here is there's a lot of data here, and too much data without a way to without a way to access it just becomes noise, right? And in fact, it can become worse than having it in the first place. What CrushBank allows you to do is distill that, categorize it, classify it, find it, make it smart, and then leverage it from there. So we're not more in the stack. We're a way to make the stack more effective. And I think what you see from Ricky and Ben over the next 20 minutes or so here will speak to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Ben, I know we didn't discuss this. I'm going to pop fly you, but would it be okay with you if you show yours first? Because I think really CloudRadial is the culmination of it. And I'd like to show kind of like what's happening on the back end first, if that's cool with you.
Yeah, one thing while Ben's doing that, I'd like to really highlight, Brian made a really good point on labor and churn inside an organization. And we tend to think about replacing people as being, we lose one, we get one, and then that person works out. In reality, we know, especially in when it comes to service personnel and most people for a large part, we might hire 2 people to find the one we want. And when data is unstructured, when requests are unstructured, when basically clients can send in emails and every email is a snowflake and has to be triaged separately, has to be categorized, has to, look up, search. The more painful that is, the more you rely on more skilled labor to sort through that. The more clients are self-service, the more the data is organized, the more that, everything is searchable. You're going to find that people will, even average people will thrive in those systems if it's well defined, and you won't have to find only the best of the best to be your service techs, and you won't have to churn through so many different people to find people that work, because again, they're coming into a well-organized environment. And if every MSP could avoid not even one churn, but even a half a churn, we're talking about $30,000 to $40,000 that's coming right out of pockets that are probably better spent on vacations and cars and everything else, other than misfits that didn't work out, partly maybe because of the employee, but also because the data is such a mess to work with. So again, as you look at all of this stuff going forward, I mean, I just think it's important to keep in mind not only the efficiencies of what you have now to make people you have more efficient, but also if you could just avoid, the 6-month ramp up or the 3-month cut and release, all of these tools that Brian's, even CloudRadial, all this stuff is paid for, multiple times over. And that's where efficiency comes in, and that's where software works, right? So, all right, off my soapbox. So, yeah, Ben.
No, you're right. Particularly, like even if you're outsourcing some of this stuff, right? Like somebody comes in and you can't control that. If there's, depending upon what type of back end support you're doing, it creates a lot more resiliency when your data is leverageable, when your data is smart, when your data is useful. Like you want to make it less human dependent. Not that they're not critical, but you don't want Jeff to be critical, so to speak. I think that's
no, and if anybody's grown from like the 1 or 2 man shop and beyond, that first day, those first 2 people, things aren't organized or well laid out, and how chaotic that is, right? And if that chaos doesn't get resolved as you grow, then you only can have the best people working for you that can deal with that kind of chaos. And all of this is about getting your business scalable, getting your MSP scalable, and being able to take good people and have them work well in your environment. Okay.
Great. So I'll jump in here. So I'm going to be demonstrating the CrushBank platform. So 3 areas I'm going to cover are the ticket insights, which Ricky will be showing as well within CloudRadial, data capture and how we leverage the data using AI search, and then workflow automation. So I already had a plan to start with the ticket insights because initially I thought Ricky was going to start, and that was going to be the segue into CrushBank. So I'll just go ahead and show that. So here we are. One of the differences between what I'm going to show you and what Ricky's going to show you is I'm currently logged in as the MSP.
Right.
So I'm going to see all my client data. What Ricky's going to show is just a particular client and how they see their own data within CloudRadial. We offer that ability too within CrushBank. Any MSP can add a user, any downstream user for any other clients. They can log into CrushBank and they can search against their data and also go into Insight and view just their data. So it's the same capability there. It's just a little bit mixed with the tickets in CloudRadial. It's a nice look and feel. So here I am. I have it at overview. So right now I'm seeing all my clients. If I go down to companies, I can go ahead and drill into. So let me pick one right here. So now I'm only seeing data for Mitch and Murray. So this feature, our insights feature, is really valuable for like a QBR, right? If you're getting ready to meet with one of your clients and you want a high level kind of snapshot of, okay, what kind of tickets did we have coming in and what was the sentiment of those tickets? Were we getting a lot of angry tickets coming in? This can give you like immediately a high level snapshot. So you can go into that meeting and you immediately have discussion points that you can talk about and work through. So we have the date range right here, so you can filter. If you want to just do a quarter, you can do that as well. So our concepts, the 2 things that we track, the extract basically from the tickets that we ingest, concepts and sentiment, right? So how do we do the concepts? So just a little bit under the hood. So we built a model of about 400 general technical terms. These are some of the things that you see right here. Every time we ingest a ticket, we grab the title, the summary, the description, and the work notes of the ticket, and we run it against the model, and we extract the top concepts from the model. So that's essentially what you're seeing here. So if you look at this is a heat map. So right off the bat, I know that we were having, for this particular company, voice over IP issues were along the top, and you can see my date ranges here, so you can categorize it by month. Citrix, authentication. If I want to drill into any of them, I can do that to actually look at some of the tickets and see what was going on with them. And then I have some other filters on the side down here. If I scroll, so I can do different filters if I want to look at the entities or some of the create users that were associated with those particular tickets. I can look at that. And then same with sentiment, right? So we bring that in, and we're basically for sentiment, we're tracking negative, positive, or neutral. So one of the things that we really want to focus on as an MSP is any negative sentiment, right? So, and it's really powerful when you can combine it with the concepts. So like right here, I'm going to click into negative to kind of drill down into all my negative sentiment tickets. And then from this, I want to say, okay, what were the top concepts? So maybe, you know, there's an issue like voice over IP again is one of the top concepts. So which ones are bringing more angry sentiment, right? So we can focus on those. On maybe we need more KBAs, just more documentation that we can give to the end user and the clients, so that, you know, we can have more positive, we can flip the switch from negative to positive on these. And again, you can break it down between description, work notes, and subject. And then over here as well, we have the ticket sentiment over time. So you can look for anything that, what you're looking for here is basically any major dips, right? This is pretty even. There's not too many major dips, but any major dips, and then you can, like, this is this minor dip right here. But then you can drill into that, and then you can look at the different tickets and see, okay, what was going on at that particular time, or why did the sentiment turn from you know, neutral to negative, basically. So it also allows you to compare if you want to compare 2 different companies. So I have Mitch and Murray, so you can do this as well, and you can pick it, or you can compare against all companies, which can be pretty beneficial as well. So that is our ticket, basically analysis, our ticket insight and analysis. So aside from bringing in, kind of to what Brian mentioned, aside from just bringing in ticket information, CrushBank brings in any information, any structured or unstructured information. So how do we do that? So Brian alluded to it earlier in his slides. So we have a set of managed integrations. So when I say managed, these are ones that we've built out that basically will connect to third-party systems and grab the data from there. So it'll do a one-time grab, which, you know, our full ingestion, it'll do a one-time grab of the data, and then it's scheduled to do an incremental grab of any deltas that are picked up. So anytime you make changes to any of the documents, we're going to pick that up and we're going to ingest it back into our library. So the managed integration options, we have our ITSMs, Autotask, BMS, ConnectWise, and ServiceNow, of course, are the top ones. And then we have the document and configuration and collaboration systems that Brian alluded to: Confluence, LionGuard, Secret Server, Teams, and SharePoint. So what if you have a system that doesn't have the managed integration? Well, one of the things we just added was the ability to ingest data via our API. So if you go down here, you see that we have these different various ingestion endpoints. So basically now with this, any data that you have, living anywhere, as long as you're able to have some type of development resource that can work with this API, you can bring in data from anywhere into your system. So any historical, unstructured, and structured data that you want to bring in, you can bring in, whether it's through our managed integrations or through our universal ingestion API, what we call it. So one other thing to touch on, just on the ingestion, let me go back here. We also offer a custom upload. So 2 options here. You can upload through you can ingest through a URL, or you can ingest through a file. This is really beneficial at the technician level. So if they're searching for an issue and they don't find it within CrushBank, most often they'll go out to Google and they'll run some searches. If they find their solution there, then they can quickly capture that URL and submit it to their CrushBank instance, and then make it available for all other techs who are facing similar issues or working on similar tickets. So I'll show you an example here. So I'll take this, put it there, I'll just type it, Cisco issues. So I check the URL and it does a friendly, like, text-only parse just to get rid of any JavaScript or any images. So then I can preview it right there, and then I can go ahead and submit it, right? So that is going to automatically upload to the library. It's usually available within minutes, and then other technicians can search from it. Also, files. Okay, files. So if the technician has any local files on the computer, or zip files that they've had, and they want to just automatically upload them, any notes, anything like that, they can also browse here and they can ingest them there. So, and then we also we have an Outlook add-in. So if technicians and managers are collaborating via email back and forth, there's an add-in plugin. I don't have it available right now to show, but there's an add-in plugin, and they can highlight one of the emails and they can quickly bring it into the system via that. So those are some of the various ways to capture the data. We try to make it as broad as possible to accommodate every situation. And I think with the recent launch of our universal API data ingestion, we've accomplished that. So now search. So what happens once the data is in there, right? So now technicians can come in when they're working on tickets and they can leverage that using our AI search. And the idea behind that, as Brian alluded to, is to cut down on time to resolution and just close more tickets, to increase the throughput of the tickets. So two types of search that you can do, right? So you can do a natural language question. So if you just want a free form question, or you can search by ticket number. So I'll show you both of this. Let's do one like paperless reset, right? So paperless server right here. So I'm going to go ahead and search. So we offer two views, tile view and list view, and I'll talk about both in a little bit. Tile view will break it up automatically into these quadrants. These are our four main categories: configs, documents, tickets, CRM. And then we also have Stack Exchange, which is our public documentation, and then alerts. So you can actually, alerts are just tickets that you extract from the ticket pool that represent alerts. So this gives you a clean snapshot, whereas list view is just going to do all of it at once, right? And you can still apply the filters and change it to view what you want to see. But we definitely recommend tile view to most of our customers because it's just a quicker snapshot of what to look at. So right away, I'm working on this issue on paperless as a technician. I can come in here, I can click on different documents, I can browse them, I can scroll different ones, looking for the different solution, read through them and see what suggestions that they give for, here's another ticket, for example, and I can look at my time entries. What did the other tech do to resolve the issue? And I can get ideas, right, just from that to how to resolve the issue. These little call outs that you see are great. So when technicians are working, if they find certain documents that are very beneficial, they can upvote it, which is upvote right here, and that's going to star it. And the number that you see next to it is how many people have started. So as technicians work and collaborate and they're looking through these issues, they can automatically pinpoint, oh, this is a very helpful document. It had 79 call outs basically, right? So just very powerful. You have all these filters on the left that you can do if you want to change the day range to this most recent. If you want to look at just documents in the past month, you can do that. When you ingest data, well, we allow filters for different cutoff times, but a lot of the data you're going to bring in is going to be can be up to 5 to 7 years old. So some of it might not be as applicable anymore. So what else? Oh, access. So let me go back to the search by ticket. So let's say you're within ConnectWise and you already have your ticket. So let me pull one up here. Right here. So I can go ahead and just search by the ticket. So what this does is it's going to build a query using that ticket's summary, description, and work notes, and automatically run my search. So I'm just showing you within the web application first. I'm going to show you how it integrates within ConnectWise as well. So there you go. So now I have, this is also a paperless reset style search. So it gives me a documentation and you see it's suggestions for that ticket number and it gives you the source right there. So very powerful stuff. So access. So what are the different ways to access the search? So the web application, which is what I'm showing you right now, and it's all a matter of preference, right? Every technician is going to have a different preference. Some might want it embedded, some might want to use our extension, and some might want it within the web application. So aside from this, we have a front-end integration with ConnectWise and ServiceNow. So this is what it looks like. So basically, right as I open the ticket, it gives me those suggestions. It automatically ran that search by ticket. So technician literally doesn't have to do anything. The results are just front and center right in front of them for suggestions on how to resolve the ticket. Let me open my service now so I can give you that one as well. So yeah, very similar. This is within ServiceNow. Same idea. If I switch tickets, it's going to load based on the criteria on the ticket. So going back to Chrome, and then we have our extension right here. So if you're using Autotask, for example, we actually are working on a front-end integration with Autotask right now. but it's not available yet. So if you're working with Autotask and you want to be able to, not have to switch between the Autotask and this and the CrushBank application, you can just load the plugin. Again, it's just a more compact view, same functionality. You can still type in the tickets, select your source. And you're going to get your results right there. And then finally, the final piece of access is our API, right? If you want to build it custom, if you have a system and you want to build the CrushBank search within that system, we offer that as well. This is our Ask functionality right here. So you can call these endpoints right here and basically get all the data that you would within the search. So that is our search and data capture. Oh, and then finally, just the last piece on search is the downstream, which we talked about for Insight. You could give your clients access to CrushBank, and they can come in here and they can utilize the search as well, and they would only see their data. They wouldn't see any of the other data. Okay, and then finally, workflow automation. So we have 3 main workflows that we work to automate: ticket classifier, ticket budgeter, and answer. So I'll just quickly walk through each one of them. So for ticket classifier, the idea here is to take the burden out and also standardize the classification of tickets. Right now, the technician has to go in there. They might misclassify it. They might not be classifying it at all. So I know it's a big pain point for our customers. So this is the integration within ConnectWise. We're looking to add this to ServiceNow and Autotask as well. So I can do it by service board. So if you see this fast response board is already configured, I can choose the statuses to which to run it. And then a couple of things on the configuration of this. So right now we offer a template based on the IT service model. So you can come in here, and if you don't like the way your type and subtype is set up currently, you can run our auto configure, and it's basically going to run it off of a template, our IT service template, and it will automatically update your types and subtypes to our template and then get it going right away. So it's like a one-click configuration to get you up and running and get your tickets classified right away. If it's something you want to test out, we can do it outside of CrushBank. We can run reports through outside of CrushBank, so you can look at what the classification is going to look like. You can also toggle this update external system, which will basically run it in read-only mode. Some of the things we're adding here for the future is the ability, we're going to offer the templates. We're going to increase the number of templates you can use. We're going to add an ITIL template as well, along with the IT service template. And then we're also, if you're very happy with your current type and subtype configuration and you want to use that, we're going to offer the ability to create custom models. So we'll basically use your existing data, create models based off that, and then you'll get to keep the automation piece. So you won't have to worry about going in and having to classify every ticket. So that is our ticket classifier, and I'm going to demonstrate these in just a little bit once I walk through them. So the second piece is the ticket budgeter. Same idea, it's per service board. So let me get So what Ticket Budgeter does is the budget feature within ConnectWise. It's rarely used. It's very manual and tedious right now. You have to go in, if you want to populate it, you have to go in as a find related tickets, find related closed tickets, compute the total hours, and take the average, right? So this does all that work for you. So you just a couple of configuration points that you choose right here. The status is what you want to do it on, and then turn it on and it's ready to go. So anytime you open a new ticket, it's going to look for any related closed tickets. It's going to automatically take all the hours, add them up together, and then compute the average, and then it's going to populate your new ticket with the average. So this can be very powerful to get an idea of how your technicians are doing versus the average. And you can, run the cross-reference this with your type and subtypes and everything like that. So very powerful stuff. And then finally, answer. This is our solution for when clients of the MSP open the ticket. It's kind of an auto response email to that ticket where you can designate KBAs that automatically generate to the client. So again, the aim is to, cut down on ticket resolution. If the client can resolve the ticket on their own, even better, right? So that's the idea here. So you can choose your document sources, or you can hand select KBAs that you want. And then once you do that, it's basically configured and ready to go anytime somebody creates a ticket. So let's go ahead and walk through this. So here I have a ticket that I'm creating, just an issue with Cisco VPN. So you see the type, subtype, and item are empty. And you can see that the budget hours are also empty, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and save this.
Ben, just being aware of time so that Ricky
Yeah.
can run through the integration.
This is last piece right here.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so we're just gonna give it a second to process on the back end. All right, there you go. So you can see my type, subtype, and item were automatically classified right there. And if we scroll down, my budget hours automatically computed right there. And then give it one more second. There's usually a little bit delay on the answer. There we go. So there you go. It automatically set an auto response to the contact with the following suggested KDAs. And then I'll show you the quick email that I get, and there it is. So we're working on some refinement to add, custom email templates and things like that. But that's the basic functionality. So I hope I gave you guys a pretty good overview, but that's CrushBank in a nutshell right there. So I'll pass it back to you, Ricky.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think, again, based on the conversation we had at the beginning and in general, it's like the concept of trying to pull all this stuff together and again, get to the end result of, can you have this save time? Can you have it reduce that information search time? Can you have it reduce your churn? Killer. From my perspective, why we're doing this webinar, co-hosted is because I want to shift the mindset just a little bit and talk about what that looks like from your customer's perspective, right? Like Jeff was saying, it's like, this is the part where we try to put it in front of somebody who does not speak technically. And do they understand it? Can you make something of it? So we got a couple different challenges. Again, solving the tickets and doing all that stuff is one thing, but again, explaining it and turning all of these granular issues into something bigger that amounts to something more profitable, more strategic. That's the name of the game. And that's what we're trying to do. So I'm going to go through something super fast, sub a minute, of just what it looks like when you set it up. And I think that in the spirit of AI and automation and doing things intelligently, we really worked pretty hard to make this thing a lot easier even than other integrations that we do. So let's talk about how to set that up. So quite simply, we have documentation on this, but all you have to do is when you first want to set up a CrushBank, you got your CrushBank instance all set and good. We're in CloudRadial right now. We're going to go down to partner and settings, and pretty standard fare for us for most integrations. We're going to head over to our configuration column on the right over here, and we're going to head over to integrations. Now, the sweet thing that's really nice about CrushBank is that because it's based heavily on, in our case, right, the PSA, the ITSM that you're using, there's really not that much work at all to do. So when we find CrushBank on the side, there she goes. All we have to do is enter your URL and the ID that CrushBank gives you, and that's it. Because then what happens is when you go to add a customer into the portal, right, you have your client list, you're going to throw them in here. We are already on the CloudRadial side doing a lookup by PSA ID, right? It works for Autotask, BMS, or ConnectWise, all the same thing. We use that ID to pull in the ticket history and the users and blah, blah, blah. Well, good news is that that's exactly what CrushBank is doing to pull the relevant siloed data. So once we already have a company, and once it's already tied to a PSA like this one is, that means that when I go see their tickets within their portal, which I'm going to do right now, right? We're going to go support and support tickets. Not only am I going to see the tickets from the portal, and then again, that's standard CloudRadial fare, so they can see those tickets directly from within here, right? But CrushBank is automatically going to detect that you want to see stuff, and it's going to add to this Insights tab. This is what CrushBank adds. And this Insights tab is going to pull up that Insights module directly within CloudRadial. So same deal that we just talked about, right? The difference is, and I think we had a comment about it earlier, it's the white labeled nature. So again, it's like from your perspective, you want to be able to show this data and make sure that, from a end user's perspective, looks like it's coming from you, and you're able to offer that genuine AI automation and intelligence to them. Again, I come at it from the non-technical perspective. So my job was to make sure that if you're trying to explain this to someone completely non-technical, does this add some value? And I think it really does, because I know a lot of times when we talk about like your QBR, TBR, whatever BR, right, your business review conversations, a large part of a lot of people's conversation is discussing the tickets, talking about both what's solved and what's upcoming and what's stuck and what's people are unhappy with or happy with. And that's a lot, right? Especially if you've got a noisy client with a bunch of tickets, rather than having to rifle through the list or pull reports out or whatever. imagine being able to have that conversation directly within their portal, being able to tell them that it's going to be there all the time and letting them play with it and showing them dynamically. So I'm in this Mitch and Murray company. I have their tickets pulled up, unlike the CrushBank module, right? Because we're not talking about you having like a global admin thing. We're siloed. Now we're talking company by company. So first of all, this isn't all your data. This isn't all your stuff. This is going to be only the company that shows up that you tied the identifier to. So it's already taken care of. Again, you're not leaking data between different sets. That's step one. Step two is that you can go through and like we just talked about, like Ben was showing, it's sitting down with a person that's non-technical and having that very clear-cut conversation going, hey, over the last 12 months or the last 7 days or whatever, having that filtering, you can have the conversation going, we've gotten an awful lot of tickets about VoIP, right? Okay, cool. So now it's not one by one by one by one. Oh, I spotted an issue. Oh, whatever. Even when you're summarizing the tickets, you get to go, this is a hot button issue. Let's figure it out. The sentiment chart, same thing, right? If we're trying to figure out what's getting good sentiment, bad sentiment, let's check out how our Outlook tickets are doing, right? We can find out that like, yeah, you know what? Maybe okay, maybe not so great, maybe good, maybe bad. So maybe we want to address all these different things. And again, we're allowed to drill down in here and talk about these things. And again, it's just that one little module that is specifically able to be translated and explained to customers. So if I want to drill into this stuff, that part appears as well. So again, I can see the details, I can see the sentiment. And again, this in front of the customers makes it really easy to explain, have that conversation, talk through it, and again, focus on the bigger picture, because now you're not doing line item. You're saying, why is this an issue? Do we need to replace this core software? Do we need to, I don't know, if you're getting a billion issues about speed, maybe it's time for a refresh, right? So you've taken something that might have been a couple of people pissed that their computers are slow, and you've turned that into a refresh. You've taken something that says security issues, and you've turned that into a bigger security conversation. So profitability is there, because now you're talking about bigger projects. Transparency is there because now the client, they themselves don't have to dig through each individual ticket. And in general, you're getting them a better conversation with you as a whole. So it's more strategic. One of the things that I particularly like about this as well is that you can also dive into, again, the specific nitty gritty of it too, down to the keyword, down to the concept, down to all that stuff, which again, ordinarily is very difficult when you're not doing that. And I'll put this up on screen for a second, but if you guys use CloudRadial 1080°, really, our philosophy is not just to talk about this, but again, in that spirit of that business review and talking about the deeper cut issues, we want to drive the conversation more down towards something like the planner, right? So being able to tangibly say, we want to do X because of Y, and being able to explain that and back that up, that's how this thing works in tandem really well. So that's really
one thing to notice too. We have the Insights tab, we have the Charts tab. Again, all of the tickets are there. The goal of all of this, again, is to do the business review inside the portal before you even show up for the business review, right? Again, the business review, if you're doing it correctly, is a listening exercise, not a talking exercise. And so if you're doing the business review and clients have already can explore, they can understand, or you can refer to it quickly as they have questions, this is the home run. The home run is using all this automation, not only to streamline the team coming in to create faster responses, but also to really free up that time by not having to go through the minutiae of print and present, or bringing them through 3 different portals to show them what's going on. Again, the whole process is designed to work together to basically streamline everything in regards to client management, including the ticket management as well.
Right. And I should have mentioned this earlier. I have a tab pulled up that this thing is also with the right people in mind, with the right security in mind. So we're viewing this as if I were an admin in the system. Admin in our definition, for those that don't know, is who has access to see the ticket. So if you designate a user inside of one of your client companies as an admin, it means that they're going to have the visibility to see the tickets for the entire company. And they're the ones that are going to see the Insights tab. For those that are not familiar or have simply forgotten about CloudRadial's permissions, there's a lot of stuff on the sidebar. That's not what the average Joe is. So if you have non-admin, just regular people going about their day, not only do they get a limited view of this feature set on the left here, if they go see the tickets, they don't get that tab, right? Because again, we're perfectly aware that you don't want Joe Schmo, the intern, being able to rifle through all the tickets and see stuff. That's a conversation that exists between you as the MSP and then the point of contact of the C-suite or whoever, right? So even that is kind of locked down to the right companies getting the right data and the right permissions too, because I know that's super important for all of us. And I'll leave it for.
Yeah, we're getting down to the last few minutes, and I want to get because I think what's important here too is CloudRadial and CrushBank not only are cooperating on this, we're collaborating, right? We're trying to take this relationship much deeper, because we all believe that a self-service client environment combined with smarter, more intelligent, more automated backends really are the future of MSPs. And so one of the things that we're doing, I don't know if we can bring the slide deck up back, because I want to leave this, the last slide here. As we're working together, not only are we working together at a technical level, we're also now working together at a sales level. So everything that we're doing, because we know that trying to put together 2 or 3, 4 different pieces of product to create that self-service, yeah, that last slide, there we go, to bring this all together is challenging. And so what we're doing is basically we are now reselling CrushBank like we do Bigger Brains, and like we're doing, actually, we've got several nice announcements coming up in that regard. We're bringing together a variety of different products that you can buy directly through CloudRadial, and we'll help you get these things all integrated and working. Again, we're working tightly with CrushBank, their sales team, their development team, their support team, again, to make this a streamlined experience, not only for your clients and for your service staff, but also the way that you bring those solutions into your organization. So as you look at, if you're interested in CrushBank, if you're interested in CrushBank and CloudRadial, if you're existing CloudRadial customer, even if you're existing CrushBank customer looking to bring on more self-service front end on that, give us a call, sign up for a demo at radials.io/demo, or sign up at sales, contact us at sales@cloudradial.com, and we'll work with you, again, cooperatively with CrushBank, with our support team, sales teams, and all that, to bring together a solution, not just another tool that kind of sits on the shelf. Our goal is to get you a complete solution that's optimized, organized, implemented for your clients, and get that money flowing back and that efficiency flowing back into your pocket as rapidly as possible.
Absolutely. All right, let me see. I think that was the last slide here. Yes. I know we've cut off a lot of the Q&A stuff, but I think we got to most of it. And as we kind of wrap up the webinar, please, if anyone has any other questions, let us know. For John, totally, anybody who is on here or not on here is going to get the recording. It'll be sent. I think we're going to post it up on YouTube and send it out as our standard play. So no big deal if you missed it. But yeah, and again, like Jeff was saying, even if you didn't manage to get your question answered now, or you have something after the fact, you're watching this, you can always reach out directly to either of us, right? CrushBank or CloudRadial, and we'll get you answered no matter what.
Two quick notes, Ricky, in closing. Just a bunch of themes that have been recurring in the chat. Security, there's a lot of conversations. We've obviously spent a lot of time, effort, and money making sure that we have a well-secured architecture and framework. So we've got documentation to support that. We can take those offline one at a time. A lot of permissions and a lot of authentication and the like that are built into it. And then GDPR, we have 3 of the global environments, EU, UK, which have a data sharing scenario anyway. So we're in the EU, or in North America, excuse me, we're in the UK, North America, and APAC at the moment. That will continue to scale a little bit, but that's covered our major footprint for right now. So hopefully that heads off any or not heads off, but I sort of summarizes a number of questions. Like Jeff said, we're really excited to collaborate with CloudRadial. We think working together, we can make what's a really challenging world of the MSP a little bit easier. The data's there. Let's get it to the right people who need it in the right form. So that's our thesis.
Killer. All right. Well, again, I don't see any questions popping up. I don't think we have anything left. So thank you guys for joining us. Thank you guys for being on the webinar, and I'll see you out there.
Right on.
Thanks, Ricky.
Thanks all.
Yep.
Bye,
Take
guys.
care.
Thanks,
Have a good
everyone.
afternoon.